Present.
Josh Garrett, Marcia Rosenfeld,
Yep.
Heather Willie.
She waved at you.
Okay. Chief Spears,
Here.
Susie Nagy, I'm here. Patrick Taylor,
I don't know if he needs to officially be here, but he is here.
all right. Yep. All right. So I'm going to start this meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners today, July 20th. And the first thing that we have to do is approve the minutes from the May 18th meeting. So I need a motion to approve the meeting, the minutes from May 18th.
We'll make that motion. This is Commissioner Garrett.
Commissioner Rosenfeld seconding.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are passed. And as far as old business, we don't have any. So moving on to new business. And that'll be starting with Chief Spears updating us on the use of force policies and the use of force board.
Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be before you today. I do have some policies I'd like to review with you and seek your approval. There are two groups of policies, really. First deals with the use of force and the subsequent investigation of that use. And the other deals with how we deal with traffic accidents involving police officers. With regard to the use of force policies, I've emailed them to you, and the changes are listed in blue. And what I've tried to do in these policies is to shore up areas where we might do things a little more comprehensively, a little more thoroughly, to make certain that we properly investigate all these uses of force, the manner with which we investigate and review them, and the establishment of a review board with civilian membership to help us review our policies, our training, and how we might make improvements when necessary. So really within that category of the use of force, there are 4 policies. The first one is just that, the use of force, that's number 300. And these should look somewhat familiar to you. What I've done is taken the previously approved Lexipol policies and incorporated these adjustments in there, and you'll see those in blue, and the former language is through a strikeout in red. And when in general order, our policy number 300, what we're trying to do there is to ensure that whenever we have a use of force, well, first of all, to make sure officers understand the responsibilities and the definitions of force, how to de-escalate situations and make certain that we do everything we can to avoid the use of force. And in this policy, I think most importantly, to ensure that every time we have a use of force, we ensure that we have a medical evaluation of all the persons involved, and that includes the police officers. I want to be absolutely certain that we do everything we can to protect everyone. Fortunately for us, we have a very small number of incidents involving force, and I think there's some reasons for that. All of our officers are trained in crisis intervention. They have mental health counseling and training. They're very professional. They use their minds, and they're able to de-escalate situations that in some circumstances may have resulted in the use of force. So through that use of professionalism and teamwork, we don't see a lot of these. But the problem I see is I can't tell you which one of these incidents is going to result in an injury to someone that could be exacerbated by an underlying medical condition, by excitement, by someone who may have ingested drugs to dispose of them before we apprehend them. So I want medical evaluation of these individuals, most importantly to make certain they're safe and healthy, to protect our police officers from unfounded criticism or liability, and protect our town from the same. So when we have a situation involving force, when we have to use a taser or a baton or chemical sprays, we'll have someone a medical crew come out and evaluate them. Obviously, if they need medical attention, we'll take them for that. If not, and they're cleared by the emergency medical technicians, the medics, then we'll transport them to a detainment facility. But I think that's important to have this evaluation, because we've had situations in law enforcement in the past where people have deteriorated during transportation, and that's not a good situation. And we have such a small number of these incidents that it's very manageable to do this. And some might ask, well, if you have such a small number, then why do it? And I think our response is, why not? It makes sense to ensure safety and protection of everyone. So that's what this policy 300 does, is to better define when medical help is required, and to be sure that our well, the other part of that is too, I want medics to check on our officers, because if you have to go through a physical struggle with someone, it can be dangerous to our police officers as well. I want to make sure that they don't have the possibility of a medical situation for themselves, high blood pressure or some injury that's undetected initially, and again, just make sure everyone is healthy and safe. 301, that establishes the use of force board that you may have heard me discuss previously. And what this board does is look at all the incidents of force. And the unique thing about it, I think to some extent, is that I'm suggesting it has civilian membership. So when a force incident occurs in the field, when someone has to use a taser, for instance, supervisors will come to the scene. They will separate the persons involved, the police officers, the witnesses. They'll obtain statements from everyone. And that's important, because it's not uncommon for people to forget what happened, for people sometimes to exaggerate what happened, to make stories up, to make our officers look less than professional. So we want to get contemporaneous statements from individuals on the scene and start our investigation right away. And concurrent with that is this medical evaluation I just described. So the supervisors will do those investigations. They'll get these statements and prepare the reports. Reports will be sent through the chain of command within the police department to me. I will review them and then send them to this use of force board. And that board will consist of the captain of the police department, the investigations lieutenant, the lieutenant in charge of criminal investigations and other sorts of investigations, and the lieutenant responsible for training. On either end of that board will be 2 civilian members. One member will be appointed by the town council and the other appointed by the mayor.
And you say town council, you mean Board of Police Commissioners, correct?
I'm sorry. You're right.
I'm just checking.
No, you're right. I'm mistaken.
Is it the Board of Police Commissioners or is it the town council?
Well, let me,
Typically in a board, I would assume that the council would be doing the appointment or have an appointment, not boards appointing boards.
right. Actually,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, actually, I stand corrected. I did write to town council that would do that.
Okay,
because
because previously you had said Board of Police to me.
yeah, but I made a mistake.
Okay.
The reason for the town council appointment is because eventually the investigation will come as a different level of civilian review and come to you for final review. So it's got 2 levels of civilian review, and I probably went too quickly and misspoke. So it is, yes, it is the town council.
Okay.
And those members will, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, real quick, Heather, sorry to put you on the spot here. Anything to think about related to reorg as it relates to appointments into a new council, or I'm sorry, a new commission like the Civilian Oversight Board, or given the fact that it didn't exist at reorganization, the appointments that Chief Spears talks about is no problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's an appointment issue in terms of making appointments or creating a new commission. We will need to go back, and I just made a note of that as well, and check what statute we use. So just for the Board of Police Commissioners, Zionsville is incredibly unique because we used the government modernization statute several years ago to create our own form of town government unique to the town of Zionsville. And so we are still a town with respect to all of the statutes that govern town government, except for certain instances where our reorganization in 2014, would state otherwise. So one thing we always have to do, to Councilor Garrett's point, is go back and just make sure that we're following the right structure and for appointments. And that sometimes means that the town council appointment points, and in other instances, the mayor appoints, or there's a combination of both. So I'll make a point of trying to go back and look at that in the next couple days, and I'll circle back, President Nagy, with you, so you and President Garrett and Chief Spears, so that everyone is on the same page going forward.
Thanks, Heather. I'm sorry to interrupt,
No.
but your flow there, Chief. I just want to make sure we got that, do it right procedurally. All set.
But this use of force board, I think the thing that makes it most important is this civilian membership, because a police department can stand before the public and say all the things that happen. But I think when you have that partnership and that level of trust through the public with other members of the public as a part of the process, it helps to strengthen that trust within the police department. So we want to be as open as we can. We want to share all the information that we have relative to these incidents, which includes inclusion of the events in our reporting, our monthly reporting, annual reporting, special reporting. There's nothing to hide here. We want to make certain we have a great story to tell here. Our police officers do a wonderful job, and some might view this as added scrutiny, but I view it as an opportunity for us to display the kind of professionalism, the good work that officers do, and hopefully stand as a model to others about how we can work together with the civilian membership of the community to strengthen our relationship and cooperation with everyone. The next policy is 303, control devices, and the same as. Yes, sir.
Question for you. Hey, so everybody's got cameras, right? So like that's not even a question. So that review board would obviously have that video and all that.
Right, and that's written in the policy that a part of the investigation will include the retention of the video involving that use of force incident. And you're absolutely right. Our police department is extremely well equipped, and we're very grateful for the support that's come from our town, from you, because all of our officers have not only the body cameras, which record audio and video, but they have cameras within their automobiles that do the same. The ability for us to review the incident and the work of the officers is second to none. We can watch the officers' patrol route. We can go back and see where the car has been, and just a great tool to help document an incident and to refute any unfounded criticism of what an officer did or didn't do. So I'm glad you brought that, because that's important for the public to know. Because if someone has a complaint about our police officers, we want to know about it, because we want to make corrections. And we have just a marvelous way of doing that through the use and review of the video and the audio that we have available to us. The changes in the other two policies, 303 control devices and 304 electronic incapacitation devices, those involve tasers, use of chemical sprays and impact weapons. And the big changes there, not really big changes, but they also include medical evaluation, just to make certain that everyone is as healthy as they can be following a use of force incident. And I said this before and I say it again, I think that the value in these is the protection for everyone, protection for those we arrest in terms of health and documentation of the incident, same for our police officers, for our town, And we, again, I think this puts us at the top in terms of the scrutiny that is given when we have to use force. It's something we don't ever want to do, but it'd be disingenuous for me to tell you that it will never happen. It's a part of this type of work, but when we use force, we want to use only that force that's necessary to take care of the incident. And once someone's in custody, that's it. And that's what our policies are designed to do, is make certain that those rules are followed. The next thing I wanted to talk about is our policy 501, traffic accidents. And that involves traffic accidents with police cars, officers having both accidents and incidents, striking another vehicle, striking an object. And what I found a couple of weeks ago is that our policy doesn't require officers to have a preliminary breath test evaluation following an accident. And while I don't suspect that's necessarily a problem, I think it's very important to do to make certain that we don't have unfounded criticism or claims that an officer may have been intoxicated or been drinking. So it protects the officer from those accusations. It protects the town from those accusations. And in the unlikely event that alcohol is detected, then we have a policy in place on how to deal with it, both internally with regard to the administrative sanctions and the criminal sanctions, because you've got two problems when you have that happen.
Chief?
Yes.
Chief, one second. Could I ask the commissioners to go on mute while Chief is talking? I hear a lot of background noise right now. That would really be helpful. Thank you. Sorry, Chief.
No problem. But there are two separate types of investigations which occur if you have a problem like that. One is obviously building a criminal case, and the other is internally. So there's a mechanism within the policy to do that, to make certain that if someone doesn't cooperate, we can take care of it administratively. And if we find a problem administratively, then we start a criminal investigation. But again, and I stress this very sincerely, I don't think we have to worry about those kind of problems, but I want to ensure the integrity of our officers and our town by having a policy in place that does just that. So if people have a problem, or there's an accident, which some might ask the question, how could that have happened? Maybe this was involved or that was involved. We can definitively rule that out. So that's the purpose of that policy. And I suppose before I go to the other parts of the agenda, I'd be curious to know if there are any questions about the policies.
Yeah, let's go. Well, let's start with this one. Does anybody have any questions or want to ask anything about this particular policy with the traffic accidents? I have one question. Can you clarify then when you do take a breathalyzer and when you don't? Because I was reading through the policy and to me it's a little bit confusing. Like when you see if the person does not appear intoxicated, you do take one. And if you don't, if they do appear intoxicated, you don't take one. And I'm not quite sure why.
That's a great question. Routinely, if you administer the PBT, the preliminary breath test, you don't see anybody has any signs of intoxication. It's what I discussed a minute ago. It's ensuring the integrity and having some documented evidence that someone didn't have any alcohol in their system. If you arrive on the scene and someone smells of alcohol or exhibits signs of intoxication, then you don't want to do the breath test right then. You want to start a criminal investigation. The first example where you give the breath test, that is, it's administratively compelled. It's part of your employment. So if you get evidence in that fashion, it's difficult to use it in a criminal matter. So when someone shows signs of intoxication, you start a criminal investigation, you advise them of their rights relative to the Indiana implied consent law, and you treat them like you would anyone else that you suspect of driving under the influence. If you obtain evidence through that fashion, a formal breath test, blood draw, whatever, you still can use that administratively. So if you have our attorney can probably explain some of this better than I can, but there's a case called Garrity. And in that case, if you compel an employee to provide information or evidence relative to an internal investigation, it can't be used criminally. So you want to wall those cases off and have a separate criminal investigation and a separate internal investigation. So in the first case, if you have someone that doesn't smell of alcohol or any signs of intoxication, and you administer the PBT and then you get one, then we kind of halt the case and get internal affairs investigators and others who will begin to work on the criminal end of it. If you detect some alcohol, but it's not at a legal level, it's still a violation of our policy. So then you would proceed more administratively. So it's done in that fashion, Commissioner, to make sure that we don't damage our ability to move forward with the criminal case if that's necessary.
Okay, that makes sense.
Chief, have you given any thought to, if there is an incident involving one of our officers, to rely on an outside agency, Boone County Sheriff's Office, Whitestown PD, just so that there's no implication of, hey, you were helping a buddy out and really should be an observer or an investigator that is potentially non-biased?
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually, in the second policy, the first policies I described, use of force, I did specifically write that we would have outside agencies become involved in serious use of force investigations to do just what you described. Make certain that people understand there isn't any special treatment or favoritism. In this particular matter, I'm not opposed to that, but with those instruments that they have now to register alcohol, they're very difficult. Well, you can't really manipulate them. You either test or you don't. So as long as the officer is the supervisor follows the policy, I don't know that's necessary to do that. But again, if the board believes that's a stronger method to ensure that integrity, I'm not opposed to it at all. And I'd be happy to talk with the other agencies to see if they'd be willing to support us with that, and we'd be willing to support them if they'd like to do it as well.
Yeah, I guess I'm really just looking for kind of a best practice, and if it's internal, it's internal. I'm thinking more like even about non-alcohol or drug-related type incidents. If distracted driving, we as civilians can no longer hold these phones while driving around, even to make a call, right? Everything has to be hands-free. And I know that, officers have to deal with a lot in terms of their computer next to them and the radio. And so, again, just making sure that if there is an incident with personal property or with another vehicle where the town is most likely going to get sued, that there is an investigation that is unbiased and impartial, that quite frankly could be used in our defense, versus them always just saying, oh, ZPD keeps to themselves, none of this investigation really matters. They really were fill in the blank that caused this accident, therefore pay me. So it's more of a liability thing as much as anything else.
Well, we had a recent accident, and the investigating officers didn't pull punches. They described what happened and laid it out just like it happened. What didn't happen, though, was this breath test, and I think that would have been a stronger part of the investigation to ensure that there weren't questions like you described about, well, did someone just look out for someone else inappropriately? I don't believe that happened at all. But without that test, it's kind of hard to refute. So.
And by the way, none of my questions are anything around a concern with officers or past investigations. I just want to make sure that we're doing what is the best practice for the unforeseen for the future.
No, I understand. Most police departments do their own testing on these kinds of incidents. Now, what you will find in that policy is if there's a serious accident, then we call out the FACT team, and the FACT team is an accident investigation team comprised of officers from throughout the county. So there you have that perhaps more objective, outside of our own town part of the investigation. But I could easily adjust that to include all accidents. So I personally am okay with us doing our own PBT, administering our own PBTs for minor accidents. But if there's a serious injury, then as the policy describes, to bring in the FACT team, I think that's the way to handle it.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I'm okay with that. Commission President Nagy, I don't know if we want to make what we should probably make a motion vote on these before moving on to the next agenda topic, unless there's more discussion. And
Yes, I was going to finish the discussion on this one and then go back and see if there were any questions on the previous policies that the chief discussed.
Thank you.
So are there any more questions on this particular policy from anyone? Okay, so are we ready to pass this particular policy as is?
Yes, from me.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the traffic accident policy 501?
I move to pass policy 501.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second.
Sorry,
Okay,
sorry, Brian.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank-
President Nagy, we'll
Yeah.
have to do a roll call vote for each of these votes. I'm sorry, everyone, but
Okay,
pursuant to the governor's order, we have to do a roll call for every individual vote.
okay,
You only need to, for the actual BOPAC members.
yes, okay.
Excuse me, Heather, can we, if we do a lump vote for all of the policies, is that acceptable, or do we need to do a roll call for each policy?
It is. So if you want to do that, what I would suggest is that the motion be amended, and that the motion be for all the policies, read the policy numbers, and then ask for a second, then discussion. So you can make sure if there were questions on any of the policies you haven't yet discussed, go ahead and do that, and then call for a roll call vote. Clear as mud?
Yes, I think I get it.
Okay, thank you.
If you guys don't mind, we go ahead and pass this one with a roll call vote, since I think we finished this policy and this discussion, and then we'll go back to the other ones, and I think we can do those as a group. So let's do a roll call vote. Josh Garrett
Yes.
and Joe Culp,
Yes.
Brian Traylor,
Yes.
and Marcia Rosenfeld.
Yes.
Susie Nagy, yes. Okay, policy 501 on traffic accidents is approved.
Commission President Nagy,
Yes.
I unfortunately have to leave. I have a doctor's appointment, so
Okay.
but we still have a quorum, so the meeting should be able to continue, and I'll watch the rest on YouTube. Sorry about that. Bad timing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Josh. Okay, going back to the use of force policy, and I'm gonna have to look at the numbers.
Commissioner Nagy.
Yes,
But before we go any further, I also have to pop off in about 5 minutes. I did have a question on the establishment of the use of force board, and I wonder if we, I've seen some concern among the community when the use of force board was announced, that the internal component of the board outweighs the civilian component. And so I wonder if there was any, if we wanted to have any discussion on the makeup of the board and whether that's, whether it sufficiently addresses concerns that that the community is policing the use of force, and for lack of a better word. Does anyone have any concerns? Or, yeah, Chief Spear, sorry.
Oh, that's right. I was just going to explain why I designed it the way I did. And I think when you have a board like this, you don't want even membership because you don't want to tie.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I added those three positions, those three police positions, I think were absolutely necessary because they represent three important disciplines within the police department: management, training, and investigations. So I added two civilian members to that to make a total of 5. I understand what you're saying about how it might look relative to more police officers than civilian members. But the other thing that is important to remember is it will eventually, all these reports will be submitted to the police commission, which is a group of entirely comprised of citizens. So it's got that second level of civilian review, which is exclusively civilian. And if you have any questions or problems, issues with any of the reports that we send to you, then we'll sit it back down and continue the investigation. So I just felt like it had a significant higher level of civilian review that I left it 3-2.
So the civilian members of this use of force board will have sufficient input into the report that's issued. They won't have any information excluded, so that any concerns they have will be brought to the fully civilian board.
They'll have access to all the information in the investigation, videos, statements, the whole everything.
Great.
And they'll weigh in and have a chance to express their opinion in writing, verbally, and then that will all make its way to you.
Okay. All right. I think that addresses that concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So on does anybody else have any questions on the review board policy? The use of force?
No.
Okay. And then let's discuss the use of force policy 300. If anybody has any questions on that one. No. Okay, then those were the only other 2 policies we've discussed today, right? Oh, here we go.
303 and 304 have some minor adjustments, but that essentially, to sum it up, it requires medical evaluation of persons that have had to have force used against them.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on any of those? Because we're going to do a roll call vote then on policy 300, 301, 302, 303, and 304. So do I have a motion to pass those policies?
I'll make a motion to pass policies 300, 301, 302, 303, and 304 as presented.
I will second it.
Okay. So all in favor, let's go through. Joe Culp,
Yes.
Brian Traylor,
Yes.
Marcia Rosenfeld, you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Okay. And Susie Nagy, yes. Okay. All opposed? Same. And so I believe we will pass those policies 300, 301, 302, 303, and 304.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda is to the June 2020 report.
Right. I emailed that report to all of you, and I hope that you find it helpful. And I wanted to put that on the agenda because I want to know if if it's providing you with the information that you need. If there are other things you'd like to see in it, or you'd like to see it done in a different fashion, please let me know and we'll make the adjustments. One thing I'd like to do, but I just really, it's difficult right now because looking back, I can't find the detailed information like I see in what we're preparing now. But as we move forward, what I'd like to be able to show is a comparison of this month to the same month last year, so that you can see progress or trends that are different than prior years. But I assure you, as we move forward, you'll begin to see that, and I think that will make it a more helpful, perhaps more meaningful report. You may keep going, Mr. President, or on the other agenda items.
Does anybody have anything to say about the report?
No, I really like the format. I think it's very informative. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much.
I agree.
Thank you all.
I have to take off, and I think you still have a quorum, Susie?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Chief Spears.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Yes, so then we can go on to the update on recruiting.
Just want to give a quick update on that. We've had 105 resumes received through Indeed.
Wow.
That's, you know, I think everyone knows Indeed is a employment recruiting site. Regrettably, though, we've only had 18 formal applications. So that position closes this Friday. We're going to call every single person that sent us a resume or has inquired and discuss the opportunity with them and encourage each of them to submit the formal application. Our testing begins Sunday, August the 2nd at Zionsville High School. That's where the applicants will receive their written test and physical agility screening. And I think I may have brought this up before, but if not, I want you to all know you're very welcome to attend any or all part of that, all of that day to see how the screening goes, the testing, and look at our candidates.
If you send me a meeting request for that, I'd love to come check that out.
All right, I sure will. Yeah, I'll send you all a calendar invitation. Would that work?
That'd be awesome.
Okay, great. I'll get it out.
Chief Spears, quick question. You said you're going to interview each candidate. Like, how many candidates are you getting?
Well, when I say interview, we're going to call them this week to make sure that they know their responsibility to fill out the application. Just sending us the resume doesn't give us the information we need to process their application. But we'll have a written test that tends to screen some out. Some don't show up. Some won't meet the standard. And then from there, we will have an board interview type of situation. And my suspicion is that we'd like to interview everybody that passes the test. We want everybody to have a fair opportunity to participate. And those that are the finalists will likely be interviewed by myself, and then we'll make decisions about who to recommend to you.
I was just more curious of how many people are applying. Just curious about how many people have sent you resumes.
We've had 105 resumes received. And of those, though, sadly, only 18 have submitted the formal application. So we're going to try to make sure that everyone understands just sending us your resume through the Indeed does not necessarily put you in the applicant pool. You've got to fill out the formal application. Police department applications may be a little more involved than applications for other jobs because we have to look at criminal records and those kinds of things. So we want to make sure everyone's minimally qualified.
So you're only calling the folks that have applied, right? You're not calling all 108 people that have submitted a resume?
No, I want to call everyone that submitted a resume through Indeed because I don't want there to be any confusion. I don't want someone to come back and say, well, I sent you the resume. I thought you would send me an application. So I want everyone to understand that they have a responsibility to fill out that application. And I don't want there to be any misunderstandings about how the application process goes.
Okay.
We might get a few more applicants than the 18 that way, and hopefully they're good candidates and increase our pool.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a good idea. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
No, I was just curious about the interview process.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, we'll make you aware of that too, and you're more than welcome to observe that. Likely, what we'll do is do that through Zoom with
Yeah.
with the COVID and record it. Have a facilitator ask the questions. We'll record the answers, and then a board will evaluate the responses based on a structured rating system. And I have absolutely no objection at all to having members of the police commission review some of the, or any of the interviews if you're interested in that. So we'll make you aware of that as well.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, then next is the transfer of the ownership of retired Officer Baldwin's firearm. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, I've come to understand that's customary when officer resigns here, or retires rather, that you present them with the handgun they were carrying at the time of retirement. And there's a form that's been prepared, and I've sent it to all of you. And if you're good with it, then we will make arrangements to get Officer Baldwin his retirement gun.
It has been done before, and so yes, there is precedent. And as far as signing that form, how does that work, Heather or Chief?
I'm going to defer to the attorney on this one.
Yeah, I think in the past, we've done it a couple different ways. We've done a resolution, but I think if we could just do a roll call vote of the members approving the transfer, and then President Nagy will have you sign as the board chair on behalf of the board, and we'll attach the minutes with the roll call vote so that the chief has it for the public record.
Okay, so do you need me to go in person to sign that?
I don't think it's, if you could just sign it and PDF it back,
Okay.
or snail mail, since we know we have it approved, we'll have this meeting as the record, and Chief Spears can go ahead and move forward with that on his end.
Okay.
We're doing a lot electronically and then just stapling a lot of documents together right now during this time. So I think that would be fine.
Okay.
So we'll just need a motion to approve the transfer.
Okay. Do I have a motion to transfer Officer Baldwin's firearm to him upon his retirement?
I have a motion to provide his firearm upon retirement.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second, so I'm going to do a roll call vote. Joe Culp,
Yes.
Brian Trailer,
Yes.
Susie Nagy, yes. So motion approved to transfer the firearm to Officer Baldwin,
Thank you.
and I will get that signed and sent over to you.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the last thing we have on our agenda is you wanted to talk about the field roll call schedule and all the locations.
Right. I emailed a schedule of our field roll calls to all of you.
Mhm.
I've asked that our police officers not do the roll calls here in the police facility. Instead, I think it's important to get into the neighborhoods, the communities, businesses, schools, churches, everything in town, and be as visible as possible to interact with our citizens and those who provide our support and funding, and just develop those friendships and relationships so that we've got great lines of communications with our citizens. And that schedule provides the locations, the dates and times of those roll calls. And like with all the other things we do, you're absolutely more than welcome to be a part of any of those field meetings, those roll calls. And as the word gets out about that, I'm optimistic that we'll see more people from neighborhoods come out. Again, some of them are a little more difficult to attend than others, depending on your work schedule. Some the day shift officers are very pretty early, 6 o'clock in the morning, and the overnight officers started about 10 o'clock. So, but everyone's welcome, and we look forward to meeting people and building those friendships.
I think that's a great idea and a great way to, increase your visibility within the community. So thank you for doing that.
Well, what I want is when people see police cars that they don't wonder what's going on, that think there's a problem. I want them to know I want it to be reassuring. I want them to know, hey, that's Officer so-and-so that works afternoon shift and works in my neighborhood. And I want them to get to know those officers on a personal level, so that when they see that officer, when they see that police car, it won't be they won't have questions about what's going on. It'll be more of again, that feeling of reassurance that we're in the neighborhoods doing everything we can to help.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments or concerns anybody else wants to discuss before we adjourn? Nope.
None on my end.
Okay.
Chief Spears, I may give you a ring or something. I had some offline questions about the June report that I think is really, really cool. But nothing to take everybody's time on here. So I'll send you an email. Maybe we can get together sometime, some afternoon this week with the face masks.
Yeah, it'd be great. I look forward to it. I look forward to this COVID thing resolving in time so that we can get to meet all of you personally and spend that time, because I understand the reason we do this, and it's absolutely the right thing to do. But it's I look forward to the time when we can be in person.
It's kind of difficult to acclimate yourself to a new community when you can't go out and see the community.
I know.
Yeah.
Trying, we're doing our best.
Yeah, you're doing great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
President Nagy, we will need a motion to adjourn and a roll call on that motion. One more time.
Thank you. Okay. We're ready to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. So Joe Culp,
Yes.
Brian Traylor,
Yes.
Suzie Nagy, yes. Okay, motion approved to adjourn this meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 17th at 8 a.m.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody be
Appreciate
safe.
your time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Heather. Bye-bye.